What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of the AST Call-In Show. I'm Noah Strackbein. Find us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your audio podcast. Thank you guys so much for cranking that 4.3 to 4.4, and we're still climbing, so make sure that you go to Apple Podcasts, download us, and give us that 5-star review. And as always, you can find all of my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Plenty of good calls today. Super excited to dive into. We got about 10, 12 calls that came in over the week. Shout out to all of our members who did call. Shout out to all of our members as a whole. And if you're looking to become part of the AST Nation, you can do so by clicking the link in the description below. With that said, won't hold back. Let's dive into it.
Hey, Noah, what's going on? I'm back, baby. I got to give a shout out to Eddie the First, right? His favorite local psychopath is back. I'm probably going to use up my time, but
more than
that's
welcome.
Okay. I'll call back.
That's what we're here for.
All I got to say is I had to do my own darkness retreat. I've been lost. That's why I've been gone so long. I poured myself a giant glass of Crown Royal, and then I sat in my living room, turned off the lights. And after about the second or third one, my little gnome hopped off the shelf. My little Steelers gnome hopped off the shelf, came running up to me. He conjured up the ghost from your house. They came over. By the way, they told me the ghost from your house is good with you.
Okay.
But the Cower book cover scares the shit out of them. So
thank God we took it down.
Just literally just when you're not there, but they're good with you. They're good with you. So, but they were talking with me, and they had a few points, a few questions to go over. First point is go baller. Be the Steelers. Tell Aaron Rodgers to go blow. Bring in Carson Wentz, right? Chances are that Mason Rudolph gets hit in the head with a helmet and he has a part on the other side of his head, right? I mean, that is the biggest part I've seen since I was in the third grade going to church with Mom, and she was combing my hair to the side. Good grief. Let's cut it out. The biggest problem with that is come next year, I'm going to have to listen to everybody go, but we were 4-2 with Mason. Why don't we run it back with him? No, we're not running it back with Mason. We're going to draft another guy next year, and then the Steelers are the Steelers again. We have men as quarterbacks, not Aaron Rodgers, right? Let's stop. Let's just go play football. Let's stop with the nonsense and go play football, right? With men, T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, right? Let's go play football. It's what we do. So put everything else aside. Tell Aaron to go blow. We'll gain so much respect around the league by going, you know what? It's not worth it. Then we come back. The other question, the real question I have is, I know it's Tomlin's defense, but who's doing the coaching? Why was it that the secondary was still running around at the end of the season having questions on what they were doing and who they were? Sorry, Eddie. Maybe I am a psychopath. Couldn't help it. Used up my time.
It's not over yet.
Back.
We're going.
So my question was,
let's keep it tracking.
Right, it's Tomlin's scheme.
Yep.
But the coach is coach.
Okay.
And watching our secondary with a $160 million defense, right? Guys should know what they're doing. Why is there still confusion on who they're covering? Oh, my goodness. Drawing a blank. But our greatest defensive coordinator ever, Dick LeBeau. Most complicated defense in the league, yet guys learned it. And they knew how to play, and they knew what they were doing. Why is it that we have guys still running around not knowing what the heck they're doing? Somebody coach somebody. That's not on Tomlin. That's on his coaches.
I agree.
So we need to figure that out. we do have a great team. I'm very excited. I'm going to be all fired up in the draft. Everything's looking positive. Next year we get our quarterback of the future, and it's going to be great.
It is.
But yeah, I just wanted to put that stuff out there, gain your thoughts on everything, and like I said, maybe turn the Cower book around when you're not there. You don't want to freak the ghost out. All right. Have a good one. Thanks, Noah. Thanks for all you do. Talk to you, brother. See ya.
Shout out. First off, Cower book down. Thank gosh. Because to be honest with you, I came into the room this morning. Not even joking. I'm not joking at all. And I'm guessing it's my wife. At this point, I'm fairly certain that my wife is either sneaking in here and rearranging things just to mess with me, and I wouldn't put it past her, or she just thinks that my office is gross. And that's definitely possible. I think it's pretty clean, but different levels of clean for different people. Organized chaos is how I describe it. And she just says, look at Cower book. Ain't it? Maybe she talked to the ghosts. Who knows? Billion possibilities. Let's address two things. First off, appreciate you as always. Great way to get. Who needs coffee, man? When we got these phone calls and these conversations. Aaron Rodgers. I think it is getting to that point. You have to make the argument. You have to look at it and say the Pittsburgh Steelers' best shot to win a Super Bowl this season is Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to try to win a Super Bowl. That is how they always handle everything. And you have to acknowledge that. That acknowledgement has to come with the pursuit of Aaron Rodgers. But it also has to be known that the longer this draws out, the worse this looks. The more you're losing the locker room, the more you're losing trust in people, the longer this drags out, the worse as an organization you look around the league. And that's to players, coaches, prospects, doesn't matter. I think you could fix it. I think if the Steelers go out and land Shedeur Sanders and say, yo, Aaron, you're out of here. See you, pal. Fixes a lot of things. I think if you draft Shedeur Sanders and you bring in Aaron Rodgers, it's a good move, but it does not look good PR-wise. Does not. I don't know if Mason wins you more games. I don't know if Mason gets you to the playoffs. I think Mike Tomlin comes up with a winning season no matter what, because that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers do. But I agree with you. It's time to call Aaron and say, look, dude, you got to give us an answer by X day. And if you don't do that, it's over. Then when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, I agree with you. I do think TA deserves some criticism. I do think it's Tomlin's scheme. I'll go deeper into this. I think it's the fact that you got guys like Cam Sutton who are playing over Beanie Bishop. Beanie Bishop's getting benched because he's not fully ready to be out on the field. He's not a guy that's developed mentally and physically enough to be out there every single snap and be reliable. So you put Cam Sutton out there. And Cam Sutton is playing hero ball and getting called out by people and making mistakes and being in the wrong spot. And you're not putting Beanie Bishop back in. That's a question mark. It's a big question mark. I think Patrick Queen needs to develop more because he needs to learn this defense a little bit more. I think the secondary as a whole has a lot of excuses and a lot of holes, and I don't know where you put the blame. I will say this. Changing course from Grady Brown to Gerald Alexander, not a bad move. I think it's a move in the right direction. I think TA is one of the smartest people I've ever spoken to about football, and I think he knows how to coach. We'll see if those two are a better mix. We'll see if not having Cam Sutton in the building and having younger options and hopefully Beanie Bishop takes a step forward helps. We'll see if Darius Slayton helps. I think it's a lot of we have to find out, but I do agree with you. A lot of questions. And at the same time, more questions because you're looking at it going, if Beanie wasn't ready, but Cam doesn't know what he's doing, what's the difference? What is at the end of this? At least Beanie's coming up with interceptions, right? At least that's the difference. I agree. I think it's very concerning. I don't put all the blame on Tomlin. I put a chunk of the blame on Tomlin, but I don't put all of it. And I think I think Grady Brown deserves some criticism, and a change at that position I think is helpful for the Steelers. Here's the thing, guys. He's not done.
Howdy, Noah. Sorry, going back again, but this one is in reference to TJ and his contract.
Yep.
I just want to say one thing, several things in regards to that. we need to pay the man. I get it. He's not been himself. He's probably going the way of his brother, going to be injury prone, won't be the same guy. But my man's been robbed of at least 2 defensive player of the years.
Agreed.
We can't let him lose out to Myles Garrett in pay too. He's a one helmet guy. He's a Steeler for life. Pay the man. I know it sucks, but pay the man.
Yep.
And don't let Myles Garrett be, oh, look, I got paid more than TJ Watt. I'm the best ever. Screw him. Screw Myles Garrett. Screw the Browns. Screw the Ravens. Screw the Bengals. Pay TJ what he is owed and let him live in the glory of, I was the best defensive player of this generation, not Myles Garrett.
Yep.
Because if Myles Garrett wins out on this one too, no, I can't live with that. Just pay the man.
I agree.
Thanks, Noah. Peace.
I agree. You got to pay TJ Watt. You can't not pay TJ Watt. I think TJ Watt's number is going to be 39-ish million bucks, but it should be 41. Should be. Give him the leg up over Myles Garrett. Say, this one's for you, dude. You've deserved this. And I said it before. I think the biggest rift right now is the fact that DK Metcalf got paid $150 million that they're willing to pay Aaron Rodgers. And TJ sitting there and going, what am I? What happened to me? You know, this isn't the first time I'm doing this. This isn't the first negotiations. Last time I took a hometown discount for you. I'm not going to do that again. He shouldn't do that again. TJ Watt deserves every single penny and some. I have full confidence. There is literally nobody in the league I have more confidence in to figure it out than TJ Watt. I have no issues paying him after a down year that led to Defensive Player of the Year finalist. I got a hard time saying that TJ isn't a dude who deserves every single penny. He does deserve every single penny. I would give him $41 million. I'm guessing the number is 39, but he deserves more money than Myles Garrett. There's no questions asked to that one.
Hey, it's your favorite Maddie.
Shout out.
I got one question, and I got to make it quick. Why do you think Jackson Dart resembles Kenny Pickett?
Okay.
He's got a different OC.
Definitely.
He's shown progression each season he's been at Ole Miss.
Agreed.
And if the Saints take Shador at 9, we're probably forced to go that route.
Yes and no.
He broke all of Eli's records at Ole Miss, so
it's true.
Putting that out there. All right, have a good one.
Shout out to Maddie, as always. Shout out to Maddie. Jackson, look at. I think in the layout of the NFL draft, I don't think Jackson Dart is a bad player at all. And I don't think Kenny Pickett would be viewed as a bad player in this draft either. I think he'd be right there with Kenny or with Jackson Dart. Is that like, okay, decently pro ready, doesn't have the highest ceiling, but doesn't have the worst floor. And you could probably make something out of him. I think that's where Jackson Dart lies. And I could be totally wrong, but I look at it and go, Jackson Dart's offense was the easiest offense in the NFL or in college football to run. He doesn't have the tremendous arm strength. He's definitely mobile, and I will give him a massive upper hand over Kenny Pickett on the mobility and when to use the mobility. He knows how to do that way more and way better than Kenny Pickett does or ever has. I think that's very impressive, but I'm nervous about the processing time. I think his processing time is still a little bit slow. I think Ole Miss's offense is easy to read, and nothing stands out in terms of physicality or physicals to say this dude's arm is ridiculous. This dude's legs are ridiculous. It's the same thing with Shedeur Sanders. The difference is Shedeur Sanders probably has a little bit more processing time or a little bit better processing time. And I think that's the difference. Again, I think in a normal loaded draft, both of these guys are Shedeur, Kenny, and Jackson Dart are third-round picks. And that's the best you're going to get. And I think that's still a pretty quality quarterback, but not one that you're going to draft saying, this is a guy that I'm willing to take at 21 and make a starter within the first 2 years of his career. That's in a normal draft. I just don't think that that's the case. And in this draft, you have to weigh that. You have to take that into consideration. Now, that being said, the Nico Tennessee stuff, I mean, you gotta look at that and say, okay, you're right. Things do change constantly in college football, and maybe it was a warning sign. Maybe it was don't bet on next season because next season's not guaranteed. Maybe that's the case. And if that's how they feel, Jackson Dart has checked some boxes. Met with them at the NFL Combine, came in for a pre-draft visit. I mean, those are the two that met with them at the Senior Bowl. Those were the two that the Steelers always check off to say, okay, this is our first round pick. I think he's there. I think he's an option. I just don't think that he has the processing time to come in here and adjust to the NFL in day one. It's going to take some time. And at that point, I just don't. I think there are better prospects. Really, I think there's one, and it's Jalen Milroe. That's the only guy that I'd put. Tyler Shuck maybe, but he's 26 years old. But Jalen Milroe would be the only guy that I look at and say, I would draft him over Jackson Dart, and there would be no questions asked, because I think both of them would be viewed as projects. Jalen Milroe's got incredible upside, and I think we could all agree on that one. That's the only reason I'd go differently. But I don't think, again, I think athleticism, Jackson Dart's got him beat in Kenny Pickett. I think arm strength, Jackson Dart's got him beat a little bit in Kenny Pickett, but they give me a lot of the can't see the field fast enough. That's going to become an issue in the NFL vibes.
Hey, Noah, this is Andrew from Florida giving you a call again. And
Andrew, what is good?
I was going to ask today a lot about the draft because, you know, I pride myself in normally having like a pretty good idea as to what I think is going to happen going into it. But this year, I'm going to just be honest with you, I don't have the slightest damn clue in the world as to how this is all going to shape up.
None of us do.
And I'm hoping you could help provide me some sort of insight as what's going to realistically be here at 21. Like, we're not hoping somebody falls, just who is probably going to be there at 21. And who do we take? Do we trade back? Do we, even trade up? Like, I've been hearing that option surface recently. And the other question I had was in regards to the.
We got it. I know you're coming back.
Quarterback. We're going to draft receiver. We're going to draft a running back. We're going to draft defensive line. Corner, safety, swing tackle. All that stuff, right? And we just simply don't have enough picks for that. And I'm kind of just wondering, like, what if something has to get left out, what do you think is the most likely position to get left out? Anyways, thanks, man. Just hope you're enjoying your day. Peace.
Shout out. Appreciate you as always. We'll start with who will be there at 21. First off, I don't think trading back is likely because I don't think they're going to have a trade partner. I think trading up is an option where we sit here today. If you're interested in a guy like Shedeur Sanders or maybe Jackson Dart, I think trading back is going to be more difficult because you're not going to find somebody who wants to trade up to 21. Now, in terms of who will be there, I think it's all over the board as well. But I think Emeka Egbuka is going to be there. I think there's a chance that Kenneth Grant is going to be there. I think Walter Nolan's going to be there. Derek Harmon maybe, but I think his stock is rising late, and that doesn't look good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You could have Matthew Golden, but he's kind of in the same boat where he's rising quick, and I think that that's going to become the hot name heading into the NFL draft is like could be a guy that goes as the first wide receiver outside of Travis Hunter. You're going to have Gray Zabel. I don't know if Omarion Hampton's going to be there. That's a question mark, obviously. I think you'll have Trey Henderson there. Maybe a Maxwell Hairston if you're into the fast corner out of Kentucky. I think that's a name to watch. And I think obviously you're going to have the Jackson Dart, the Jalen Milroe, the Tyler Shuck if you're looking at quarterback. I don't know their order. If I had to guess priority-wise, defensive tackle is pretty high up there, but quarterback, depending on who it is, will top everything. And then I would guess wide receiver is after that. Now, in terms of what positions they realistically fill in the NFL draft, I mean, quarterback is going to be filled. Running back is going to be filled. Defensive tackle is going to be filled. And if I had to guess, wide receiver is going to be filled at some point in the draft. After that, it's toss up. Safety, corner, maybe an outside linebacker, offensive line, I believe, is going to get drafted. I would put them in the top of the maybe list. Maybe they double dip at wide receiver or running back, maybe. But those would be the ones I'm looking at in terms of this. I think quarterback, running back, defensive tackle, wide receiver are the 4 locks. And after that, and did I miss one? No, those 4 are the 4 locks. And after that, it's a lot of maybes that may depend on just best player available and if the Steelers need a guy or could find a guy in the draft 5th, 6th, 7th round and say, you know what, might as well. Who cares?
Hey, no, this is Mike Brown. Just finished watching John Gruden's QB class thing with Will Howard. Hey, man, he might be better than a 3rd round pick. If he gets picked in the 3rd round, he might bring a Super Bowl to some team, man. The way he looks, he got a no-step throw. He can make every throw. Completion percentage from 53 to 73 or some shit like that. But have a good day, my man.
Yes, sir. Shout out to you, Mike. My bad. Or my man. Will Howard. First off, we'll just go straight report. The Steelers like Will Howard. They're open to Will Howard. They think he's impressive. They took him out to dinner, obviously, before Ohio State's pro day. I think that's pretty big. If he's there in the 3rd, he is an option for them. He is. I would say him and Quinn Ewers, if Jalen Milroe and all those guys are gone, top the list with ease. They are the 2 that they would come down to and consider in that 3rd, 4th round. I think Will Howard has some ups and some downs. I'm more concerned about how much of the hot hand in the playoffs are we banking on? How much of this are we saying, okay, that's going to be good? And to be even more honest, I could see Will Howard turning into A.J. McCarron, a guy who's always had elite talent around him, who's got the ability to make throws and read a defense and has everything you're looking for, but doesn't excel at really anything. I could see Howard being that guy in the NFL, which is a quality backup, but I don't think gets you anything more than Mason Rudolph. And I think that's where it becomes a little bit of a concern on whether or not he's going to be like the guy. I could be totally wrong. If I had to guess on the quarterback that comes out of this draft and kind of shocks us all, Howard would be the one. People would say Tyler Shuck. I think Tyler Shuck is less surprising. Will Howard would be like the shocker to me. Okay, this guy, he's actually really good. I could see the Steelers drafting him in the 3rd or the 4th round. I do think that's a possibility. Is it going to happen? I think it depends on if he falls and who else is there on the board when they are up at 83. But the Steelers like Will Howard, and I would not at all rule out Will Howard as a pick for the Steelers.
Hey, Noah. Doug from Philadelphia. Love the show. Got
Yes,
a 2-part question here. First is, why the heck are the Steelers waiting for Aaron Rodgers? I mean, it just doesn't seem like that's how the organization runs. The second part of the question, with all the weapons we have, the George Pickens, the Metcalf, we like Warren, we got Gainwell, we got great options on the offensive side. How do we think Mason will do with that? I kind of feel like watching him when he was in Pittsburgh and the games he was in, if he had more weapons, he probably would have been more successful. Curious your thoughts. Again, love the show. Thank you.
Appreciate it, my man. I think that the weapons in Pittsburgh will be fine. It's way better than the last time Mason started. And the time before that, like, that's my thing with Mason is I don't think Mason's going to win you a Super Bowl. I don't think he turns into Sam Darnold. I don't think any of that happens. I wouldn't predict any of that to happen. Would I be shocked if it does? No. But at the same time, I don't think I'd be sitting around going, wow, like, you know, I definitely saw this in the cards. This was a possibility. Nah, it's a possibility, but it's real slight. It's real small. That being said, the last time he was like a starter with the Steelers, he had literally nobody to throw the football to. Nobody. It was Juju Smith-Schuster and I believe Deontay Johnson, but a rookie Deontay Johnson. That was it. That was everybody that was rocking there with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The last time he was a starter for that small stretch, he had George Pickens, he had Deontay Johnson, he had a running game. His offensive line wasn't terrible. A lot of good things happened. This time it's DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Calvin Austin, who's developing, Roman Wilson, probably a rookie, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, Connor Hayward's got great hands, Kenneth Gainwell, Jaylen Warren, both receiving backs. You're probably going to add another running back in the NFL draft. Offensive line takes a step forward, better offensive coordinator. I mean, everything is there for him to improve the last time that he was here. That's what I'm saying. I don't think Mason's a bad quarterback. I think Mason could get you to 10 wins. I really do. But where I draw the line with Mason is I don't think he beats Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he beats Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow if it comes down to a shootout and you got to go out there and win. I don't think that happens. That's where, to me, he doesn't hold the upper hand. But that being said, he's got everything in place to get the Steelers where they need to be. And if they get there, and this is Jaylen Warren is the guy, he's the one taking over. Rookie running back is the guy. He's the one taking over the offense. Chances double that the Pittsburgh Steelers could actually pull something off. Easy. Again, would I predict it to happen? No. Do I think it's going to? No. Would I sit here and say, wow, nobody saw this coming, this is crazy? Also, no. I think Mason's got the tools, and he's definitely got the weapons. Now it's just about, can he utilize the weapons correctly, and can his ground game be the force that carries them as far as they can go, because you don't want that to be Mason.
Hey, it's your favorite Maddie.
Once an episode. We do it once an episode. Shout out, Maddie. Shout out, Maddie.
Hey, Noah, this is Patrick from Maryland.
Yes, sir.
Calling to talk about receivers, man. Like I am haunted by the receiver class in this draft, and what adding one of the top receivers with our first pick in the first round,
yep,
at 21, to this receiving core. Like, build out our receiving core, and if you sign Aaron Rodgers, we could do great things this year. If you go after your quarterback next year, you've got all your weapons already in place. It just makes too much sense. We're talking about quarterbacks probably going, running backs, defensive tackles, and all that stuff is great. But we have never had this kind of opportunity to add this quality of a receiving room.
Yeah,
in my memory, like since AB and Emmanuel Sanders or Martavis Bryant, like having this many quality weapons around the quarterback. Not to mention Pat Freiermuth in Darnell Washington in that group as well. Like it makes too much sense to add another piece for Aaron Rodgers or whatever future QB that we wind up signing. Even if you take Tyler Shuck late in the draft, it's so many weapons around him. It just makes too much sense. I don't know why it's not more of a priority, but tell me what you think.
Oh, I got two thoughts on the wide receiver. And I don't think you're going to like one of them. I think you will like the other. And then I'll kind of give you the realistic outlook on where the Steelers probably sit here with wide receiver. I think the wide receiver class is very top heavy. There's three of them outside of Travis Hunter that are really good, like really good. And I would use the 21st pick on any of the three. And that is Terrion McMillan, Matthew Golden, and Emeka Ibuka. I think they're all great. I don't know if Matthew Golden's going to last. I don't. I think he's moving up the boards quickly. I don't think that's good for the Steelers, to be honest. I think it works very negatively in their favor because just because one wide receiver is moving up doesn't mean anybody else isn't either. And they might find themselves with very limited options at 21. McMillan, the Steelers, I don't think would consider. Why? Because the Steelers are slowly learning their lessons from the past, and McMillan has had a very bad pre-draft process. And the Steelers are looking at that going concerning. I've heard that there's skepticism about his dedication to the game. That's concerning as well. I don't know if the Steelers are going to be all in on that. I mean, they just let James Daniels go because they didn't believe that he was the guy that was 100% invested into football, no matter how good he was. Emeka Egbuka, the Steelers would like. And if he's there 21, don't rule him out. And that's the realistic side of this is I don't think McMillan is on their radar. Matthew Golden certainly is, but I don't think he's going to make it to them. It could come down to Emeka Egbuka being the only guy that's on the radar for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the only guy that's there at 21 that they'd take. History tells us that's not going to happen. They're not going to take a wide receiver. But again, they could find themselves with very limited options across the board at 21 in the first round. And if that's the case, Emeka Egbuka might find himself being the top guy on that list, the guy that you can't pass on because he's just that good at a premium position. That could be the case. It honestly could. I look at Emeka Egbuka as the one of the three that if I had to guess what first round wide receiver realistically has a shot to land in Pittsburgh, it's Emeka Egbuka. And it'll be Emeka Egbuka right up until the end because right now he's falling backwards. Golden's falling forwards. McMillan's right there in the middle somewhere. And if it works out in Pittsburgh's favor, they'll have Egbuka if they're going wide receiver. But I don't think that's likely. I think they are somewhat dazed and confused by George Pickens, and they think that things are going to work out there. Chances are they're not. I mean, it has nothing to do with the draft. It has everything to do with the fact that July 25th shows up and everybody's reporting to camp and George Pickens is not. That's the issue. That's the, okay, now we're talking trade. Now it's got to happen because George has made it clear that he wants a contract and he deserves a contract. But you just gave his contract to DK Metcalf and you got to pay TJ Watt in the process here. And you're not going to pay all three of them. That's not going to happen. So I don't think George and the Steelers work out. That's my prediction this offseason. But if it does, and you still get Emeka Egbuka, great. If it doesn't, you better hope that you get somebody. And I don't think the Steelers are thinking that way, and I think it's going to hurt them. I agree with you. I think it's chaos. I would go Emeka Egbuka over a number of players in this draft, but I would go defensive lineman over Emeka Egbuka. I would. I just think that you have an opportunity to secure a really, really elite defensive line, and that's important. It's really important. And I know that might leave a hole at wide receiver. I think in my own opinion, that's a risk worth taking. I think the Steelers kind of feel the same way. I think of those three, Emeka Egbuka is the name to watch. Not totally sold that he's super high on their list, but I would say that he's probably a top 10 player at 21 for them. And depending on how the board shakes up, you could find yourself with a top 10 player near the bottom of that top 10 being your top option. I wouldn't rule him out. I wouldn't. It stinks that that's the answer, but I wouldn't rule out Emeka Egbuka. I wouldn't say it's very high, though.
Hey, Noah. This is Nate Moore here from Buffalo, New York. Big fan of the show. I was wondering if you could talk about the Steelers' willingness or lack thereof to adapt to what the rest of the league is doing. It seems like other teams in the league have shifted towards more of an offensive mindset, and I believe that to be working for them. And maybe the Steelers are heading in this direction too, with them paying DK Metcalf that big contract, and maybe they're holding some of TJ Watt's money to give to a QB that they're waiting on an answer from. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe they are finally adapting, and maybe they'll break that mold and trade up in the draft to go get a big name this year. That'd be a big change, I think. Let me know your thoughts on this, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Shout out to Nate, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate the kind words the last 2 days, to be honest. I've noticed them, and I can't thank you enough. Let's talk money on the offensive side of the ball and where the Pittsburgh Steelers are shifting. I think they are making a shift towards offense. The Steelers are geared as a defensive team. They will always be geared as a defensive team, but they have very much so ignored the offensive side of the ball in recent years, and that they can't continue to do that. They just can't. They are aware of that. They know for certain that if they are going to make this work, stay competitive, reach the mountaintop, and beat teams like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, they need to invest in the offensive side of the ball. Now they're doing so little by little. They've put top picks in the offensive line, wide receiver now, tight end. Maybe they're going to do so at quarterback next. Running backs probably on the board somewhere. It's a slow build. They're going young offensively, spending money on defense, and then splashing in guys like DK Metcalf. Now, I don't know if that's the best way to go about it because the Kansas City Chiefs put money into the offense, go young on defense. The LA Rams go young on defense, heavy into the offensive side of the ball money-wise. The Steelers are doing it backwards. If your guys click, it works. If Minka doesn't have a good season, it doesn't. If TJ doesn't have a good season, it doesn't. That's where the issues come in. I think they could figure it out. I think the Steelers are making adjustments. They are changing their, I don't know, their mindset, but I don't really think it's a mindset. I just think they're changing their game plan, their strategy to approaching the offensive side of the ball, investing a little bit more into it. It's taking everybody screaming from the mountaintops to do so, to say, please put something into your offense, please, and then for them to listen. But that's where we are right now. I think that shift is coming. They will always be a defensive team, but I do think they're investing more and more into their offensive side of the ball. They are at that point in the building process where they have a lot of the pieces in place. It's just a matter of, can they work? Do they click? Because if they click, the offense isn't that bad. It's actually pretty good. If they don't, it's terrible, but you went really young and you took that risk. I think that's a risk worth taking for the Steelers, to be honest.
No, Eddie the First here. Look, man, one thing that we know for sure is that we know absolutely nothing for sure. Such goes the life of being a Steelers fan.
Always.
Just wanted to check in with you, my brother. I know a lot of people are coming at you left and right. Noah, why this? Noah, why that? But nobody ever takes the time to ask, how's Noah doing? How's Noah doing in this situation? Anyway, brother, I wish nothing but the best for TJ. I hope the Steelers do right by him, whatever that means, whether that means trading him to a contender or paying him his bag. The dude, he is owed that and so much more. Just checking in, brother, and wanting to make sure that you don't get too beat down by all of this Rodgers drama. And, wish us nothing but the best of luck in the draft. I think we're going to do right by the city, do right by the team.
Yes,
and, there we go. Take it.
Shout out to Eddie the First, my man. I appreciate you so much. I'm good. I'm hanging in there. I'm enjoying the ride, to be honest with you. I'm loving this. I tell everybody constantly, like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm an optimistic dude. I've always been an optimistic dude. And I didn't think that I would ever experience getting to cover the chaos that is chasing Aaron Rodgers. Here we are, and I'm having a blast with it. I am. People are pissed off. They're fed up. They're over it. I'm not going to act like I'm not. I don't wake up in the morning juiced up to write the 15th same update about Aaron Rodgers. Not the case. But I'm looking at it every night going to bed going, man, dude, we are at the point where this is getting crazy in a way that we didn't expect it to get crazy. And it's a fun ride. It's a fun ride. I appreciate you for reaching out. I really, truly, truly do. And at the same time, I hope TJ gets the bag. He deserves the bag. And I hope the Pittsburgh Steelers next Thursday have a good time. No matter how it goes down, I'm just excited to find out, finally get an answer to the questions that we've had throughout this entire draft process. Once again, Eddie the First, appreciate you as always.
What's going on, Noah? This is Carl Spackler. So wanted to get your opinion on something here. This offseason has been a bit of a debacle on our parts from all fronts. Quarterback, how we're handling TJ, everything. Do you kind of get a sense that this is almost a changing of the guard moment where Art's on his way out, maybe Tomlin's on his way out sooner rather than later, and there's just kind of I'll make some lazy moves or I'll do some kind of things that I'm at the end of my reign, don't really care type thing? it almost kind of makes sense with some of the moves that are going on, or that's me trying to just justify it for my own sanity. Would love to hear your thoughts. Appreciate you.
Carl Spackler, my man. First off, Jake Penturi had a great time with your name yesterday. He was cracking up afterwards. He was loving it. Shout out to you as always. I do think that in the next 5-ish years, Art Rooney is changing ownership over to his son. I think that's a realistic expectation, and I do think he wants to win a Super Bowl in that time. I'm fairly confident that he wants to win a Super Bowl in that time. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I have no idea, but I do think he's making those moves. At the same time, though, I don't think Rooney's super in on the Aaron Rodgers idea anymore. I think he's kind of sending a warning. Hey, look we can't wait forever. At some point, we got to give up on you, pal. We got to move on. I think that's there for the Steelers. I truly, truly think that's there for the Steelers. And because of Rooney, it's an actual real possibility that at some point they say, all right, we're done. Because Tomlin and Omar wouldn't. They'd stick this out and understand what Rodgers could bring to the table. That being said, Rooney wants a Super Bowl. He will make moves to go win a Super Bowl. I don't know what those moves are. I don't know how big of a button he'll press or how many buttons he will press. But I do think that in the next 5 years, it's realistic to think that he's going to pass the team down. That gives him 5 years to win a championship. He probably wants that to happen sooner rather than later so he can enjoy it more. I think it's there. I don't think you're talking yourself into anything. I think all of that is pretty real, to be honest.
Hey, Noah, this is Berg fan, and I am calling in late. I don't know if I'll make the show.
You made it. Don't even worry about it.
Like Grayson the Ginger did last week or not, but either way, I'll be on next week. I just got done listening to the Monday show. I'm a little behind. And you mentioned the 5 keys that Grayson asked you about, being, running quarterback, running game, O-line, and then TJ and Tomlin, letting his coaches coach. And, I'm sitting there looking at that, thinking about that, and it just seems like the hardest one to accomplish is going to be Tomlin. Letting his coaches coach. So, I don't know. Give me your thoughts. Thanks. Bye.
Always snuck it in late, and I'm always grateful for when I see the phone light up and I just get a little, got one more. I'm always excited for it. So shout out to Bird fan, my man. Shout out to Grayson the Ginger for last week. Let's talk Mike Tomlin. Oh, man. This one's always tough. It's brutal because I respect Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin's a phenomenal coach, a future Hall of Famer. Like that guy, been that guy. Will remain that guy. But his biggest downfall is he needs to become more Nick Sirianni and less Mike Tomlin. And I don't know if that's going to happen because you do need to let your coaches coach. You do need to let your offensive coordinator run the offense, and you really kind of take a pretty significant step back there. You do need to let your quarterbacks do what they want to do to hold themselves accountable and to make more plays on the football field. You do at times need to say, look, my defense isn't really working. Let's game plan a different defense. Let's figure this thing out. And I don't know if he's capable of doing that. I don't look at Tomlin as a guy that has pressure on him outside of the fact that he wants to win. It's own pressure. That's what it is. It's self-pressure. That doesn't make you change. It doesn't. It makes you work harder. It makes you make some adjustments, tweak some things, but it doesn't make you take a significant step back. It doesn't make you become less hands-on. It doesn't. Pressure from the top, pressure from Rooney, pressure from the Steelers organization that seat might get warm at some point. That would change those things. It would. And again, I have a hard time with this because I think Tomlin's elite. I think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL still. But I do think there is a lot of negatives around him right now. And I don't know if he's going to change any of them heading into the 2025 season. I don't know if it's even on his mind to change any of them in the 2025 season. How long it's got to go, how far this has to fall before that does become a real possibility and change could really actually happen. I have no idea. I truly don't, because I don't know when that seat gets warm. I don't know how many contract extensions you could sign him to before you start to realize we probably need some change. I don't know, but I agree with you. I do think you need to take a step back if you're Mike Tomlin. I don't think that step's going to happen. Not this season. Maybe next season. Maybe by the end of the season. A lot of things could change. Pressure can build. It builds every year. But right now, it's self-pressure. It's, hey, Rooney's pissed, but I'm pissed. I want to figure this out. Needs to become more Steelers have a higher standard. You got to meet that standard. You got to figure it out. I think at that point is when change comes. For right now, unfortunately, I don't see it coming. Could be wrong. Hope I am, but I don't see it coming. All right, y'all. Shout out to all our members. That was awesome. But I'm heading out of here. Once again, if you want to become a member of the AST Nation, call into this show every Wednesday. Do so by clicking the link in the description below to become a member on our YouTube channel. If you are listening to this on audio, you could just do so by going to our YouTube channel, sliding over on that top bar and going to memberships and joining there. I'm heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of the AST Call-In Show. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. Go hit those Apple audio downloads and give us a 5-star review. Can't thank you guys enough. And as always, you can find all of my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. I'll be back later this afternoon for the flagship show. With that said, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.